What's up YouTube, it's themthatgots back with another video. This time I have with me my Master Grade Gundam Deathscythe model kit. If you don't know anything about Gundam kits, what they are basically is they're a model kit that you build and then it becomes a fully articulated action figure, even though it is kind of fragile, so you can't really bang them around like you do with normal action figures if that's your thing. But they are really awesome for posing. There's some incredible engineering on these kits. There is, if you look at the figure, obviously it's a robot. You see all the armor on it. There's actually a full inner frame. You can see, like in the elbow here and up into the shoulder, there's a full inner frame underneath there, like a whole robot armature under there. That's just awesome. It gives it some really nice articulation and gives it some nice features too. But this here is Deathscythe from the Gundam Wing anime. Like I've said before, I'm not an anime fan. I just really enjoy the designs of these kits and the engineering that goes into them. And Deathscythe is definitely a fan favorite. He's definitely awesome. He doesn't have as much going on as the Heavy Arms kit does that I showed, but I think I might actually like this one a little bit better. He's a very cool kit, and I'll show you some of the features here in a second. I'm going to turn my phone off. Sorry about that. But let's see if I can push him back a little bit, if you can get his weapons in. He's famous for this weapon here, which is the Scythe. That's where he gets his name, and you can see that it is massive. Very cool. So let me take his weapons off and I'll go over some articulation in detail with you. This one's a little easier to get his weapons off than the Heavy Arms kit is. While I'm doing this, it's also pretty important to note that this is a bootleg kit. I'm new to Gundam, kind of, and I didn't know that this was a bootleg kit when I bought it. But I looked up some reviews, and actually a lot of builders of Gundam kits prefer this bootleg over the normal one because it's a lot more sturdy. And it is a very sturdy, solid kit. It's by a company called Dragon Momoko. But anyways, here's the Scythe close-up. I did give it a little bit of a paint job there, kind of like it reminds me of a lightsaber from Star Wars. You know how the center is always white? I did that to make this look more like energy than just a regular clear green beam. You can see it there. And it actually unplugs from this, like so. And here's the full Scythe. It's probably about a good 10 inches or so. Very cool. And let me show you his other weapon here. This is his shield, his beam shield, and it has another beam that comes out, and I did that same paint job on there. I think the paint job came out a little bit better on this than it did the Scythe, but it's the first time I've ever attempted anything like that. So there's that. And if you take this beam part out, it just clips up underneath there. You can actually take this scissor blade part and you can close it up. And it latches right here. So there you go, he's got a nice full shield. This kit was a little bit different than a normal Bandai kit because instead of having dry transfer decals and the regular sticker decals, this one only had dry transfers. So the decaling process was very tedious, but I actually kind of prefer the way this came out than with the sticker decals. I really like the dry transfer decals. They're nice and clean, and I love the decal work on this kit. A lot of people, like I said in the Heavy Arms review, don't like decals, but I love them. I think they really bring the whole thing together. I've got his name here on the front skirt, just like the Heavy Arms kit. It did have a decal that was all gray. You can see there's some writing up in here, and it says Gundam Deathscythe down there. There was one that was all gray, but I messed up when I was trying to put that decal on, so I had to settle for the one that had white parts too. The face on this was actually a pain to build too. Those yellow pieces kept popping out when I didn't want them to. He just looks so awesome. I also didn't paint this kit like I did the Heavy Arms kit because I was really pleased with the colors that the plastic was molded in, unlike the Heavy Arms. And actually the Dragon Momoko, the bootleg that I have here, I think has some deeper colors than the normal version, and I really like it. So I kept that. We'll get a little bit of a back view here. You can see his backpack and all that. Pretty cool with the decals. I did a lot better decal job on this one than the Heavy Arms too. I made a lot of mistakes on the Heavy Arms because it was my first time. But let's get into some articulation here. He has a ball jointed head, so it can roll very nicely and it can rotate 360 degrees. And you also have this joint, a lot of people call it the chicken neck joint. It raises up out of the body. Oops. So you can see there, so you can get a little bit of a higher pose. Very nice. He does have a double ball jointed waist, so you can get a nice roll out of it and a nice motion there, turning motion. You can see here his backpack is on a, there's ball joints on each side. So you can move the backpack around, back and forth, side to side a little bit. And then they kind of just go back in like normal. These little pieces here are articulated also, these little fins, so you can pull those out. And let me get to the shoulder here. There's a joint inside the body where you can pull away. They're very tight on this kit. So you can get kind of a crossbody pose, like that. And let's put that back. You can rotate the shoulder 360 degrees. You can pull the arm out here, and it rotates at the bicep. You gotta try to keep it tight while I'm doing this. The joints are very tight, but they tend to come apart. And then you've got a nice double joint in the elbow. And like I said about it coming apart, his leg just popped off. Goes up about that far. You've got a ball joint in the wrist. And you can see his thumb moves on its own. So you can pose his thumb around. And then the fingers actually, the fingers are separate. He comes with 4 different hands that you interchange. And I'll show you those in a second. So each of the skirts moves independently. The front skirt is on 2 joints. It has a hinge joint and a ball joint, so you can get a lot of motion out of it. And the leg has these big pointy things on the knees, so that kind of hinders the movement, but you can get it out straight ahead of him, and you can move it back just as far, which is nice. If you look here in the knee, you've got a nice double joint, and you can actually bring the foot all the way back here. And it's got some nice sliding panels just like Heavy Arms that you can see in the knee. And the knee separates here. Oops, let me get the foot out of the way. You can see the knee separates, which is nice. Got some nice sliding panels. That's why I love the engineering of these kits. It's just awesome. And then you have the double ball joint ankle that gives it a nice rolling motion. You got a good forward and back. Oop, the piece just fell off. And you can point the toes down and up. And you actually have this piece here that has a little bit of movement in it too, which is nice. So, that's it for the basic Gundam and the build. I'm still a bit shaky with these reviews because I'm very new with Gundams, but here he is. And I'll show you those hands like I said. He has an open hand, that's kind of a weapon holding hand, but it doesn't have the peg like this one does. You can see this one holds weapons and it has a peg in there that you move into the weapon to get it to hold. Then you have this nice open fingered hand, nice for open-handed poses. And then you get this fist piece to make him look like he's just clenching his fist. And like Heavy Arms, he also came with an action base connector, so you can connect him to an action base. And it's also important to note that since this is a bootleg, for some reason he does not include the pilot like Heavy Arms and all the other ones do. So I don't have a pilot for this guy. Speaking of which, you can open his cockpit here. You can see it open up right there. But if you look inside, let me get the light up here. There's nothing in there. No pilot. So that kind of stinks, but how often are you really going to display them with the cockpit open anyway? And to be completely honest, it's really hard to see those pilots even when they are in there. So I believe that is it for my Deathscythe review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.